Well, hello everyone. I thought I would just do a yapping video as you watch me ice. And if this is the first time you're watching my videos, hey, I'm Abigail. I do wedding cakes and I am from London. So this is going to be a real time, well, at the end I do a time lapse, but it's going to be a real time video of you just watching me ice and fill a wedding cake. I have a wedding cake this weekend and this bottom tier is a lemon elderflower. What others? Okay, they've gone for a lemon elderflower, chocolate and salted caramel, and then a white chocolate and raspberry. So heads up, those are the flavors that you'll be seeing me fill. So I thought I would speak about managing cash flow as we're ending the wedding season. And as the time I am recording this is like the tail end of my wedding season. So can you believe it? I have only 2 weddings left for this week, and then I have like a 2-week break, which is crazy, and then I have like a flurry of like some weddings at the end of the year. So I'm just kind of doing this off the cuff, and I thought I would speak about managing cash flow. Now, I uploaded a video over on my TikTok about, I think it must have been finances, and then I did get a question about what do you do when it's not wedding season. So I thought it would be best that I just kind of break down how I manage my cash flow. Now, if you've worked with me before, if you're a client of mine, or I may have spoken about this before over my other social media, what I do is I kind of get paid throughout the year. Now, you will have some bumper months when it's like, okay, this is a significant amount that I would normally get in comparison to what I would get in January. Now, for the record, my low months are, let me pull it up. Okay, so I had to pull it up. Now, my low months historically have been January. January is just a very low month, I feel like, across the board for everyone, whether you're a business or a consumer. And my bumper months, you can say, are 2 months before my crazy busy months. So, for example, this wedding season, my busiest month this year, where I had 11 weddings, I think I had 11 or 13. I think I had 13 weddings in August. That 2 months prior to that would have been my bumper month. So June would have been my crazy month. It's like that because I require my final payment 2 months prior to the wedding. So normally around like the tail end of spring, early summer, that's when it is a lot more, there's a lot more cash in the business. Now, I don't kind of take out all of that money in my business. I pay myself a set wage. And then I keep everything else in the business. Now, what I like to do, I have a friend that's an accountant, and she kind of taught me how I do this. So I have an operating cost, which I keep in the business. So for example, 1.5k I would keep in the business, and that is just to cover my operating costs, whether it's subscriptions, which I don't have many of because I feel like that can just be an easy way to lose a lot of money in your business, whether you're signing up to memberships, things like that. But really my subscriptions are like phone bill, Wi-Fi, my website, things like that. So I keep my spending really, really lean. And then obviously I'm buying ingredients, and then that's really it. So I can actually let me have a quick look at what my operating costs are. Okay, so I just had a quick look and it's under £300. So it is very, very low. This includes like my Google, my phone bill, cost of like ingredients, things like that. At times now, cost of ingredients can be significantly low when I'm baking like 2 wedding cakes a month, for example, in January, but there's times when it can be very, very high because I am buying so much chocolate and just so many other things. Now, what I do is I have my operating costs and then I save a buffer. I like to save around 3 to 6 months worth of expenses for my business. So that will be 3 times 1.5k, for example. And that would be enough that if I don't have a good amount of expenses going out, or if I don't have enough of income, coming in, then I'll be okay. Now, thankfully, I have not had to kind of dip into that a lot because I'm spacing out the way that I am spending my money. Now, I don't spend like I'm in Congress. I really try and keep my spending low. Now, outside of my operating costs, I do obviously well, this is not obvious because I feel like the more and more people I do speak to, this is not as common, but I contribute to my pension, and that is something that is really important to me. That's something that's been instilled since I was a young lady. Contribute to my pension, obviously I pay myself. The reason I wanted to do my pension because it was just so important that I am saving for the future. Whether I even reach it, who knows, but I want to be able to put money aside so when I'm older I don't have to bake 13 cakes in a month, for example. So I want to have the liberty to kind of really retire and have the dignity to retire. So when I talk about saving money, that's going to really help me to cash flow the money throughout the year. Now in those bumper months, and this is actually how I bank personally, I don't keep everything in that current account. Now, one thing is I use Metal, which is a banking app over here in the UK, and it syncs to the app called Free Agent. So it's really helpful so I can see everything all at once, where my money is going and everything like that. So this year I've actually got an accountant. I've done my business accounts for 9 years, but this year I've got different goals and I want to move to making sure that I'm optimizing Bloom and Crumb to be the most tax efficient, and also so that I can meet those goals as well. A couple of other things that help me cash flow is I do a lot of sinking funds. So I sink funds, if you haven't heard of that term before, is where you basically put a portion of money aside every single paycheck that comes in, or every single invoice that's paid, and that's where you can save money for that thing. So for example, I save for a new phone. Phones are really important to me just so I can have an incredible amount of quality with my content. I really do book a lot of my work through social media. I will actually make a video about how I do come across business, but I sink also funds for example, a bonus at the end of the year. Most importantly, I do save my profit and I also save my tax. So I save a portion amount of every single invoice that is paid, and that's kind of sink the funds. Now, never do I want to come to January. So over here in the UK, our taxes are submitted in January, and I don't want to be in a pickle where I'm like, oh no, I don't have enough for taxes. So everything is already set aside. So really, whenever I see the money in my account, I'm not seeing X amount and thinking, oh, this is all for me. So just to round up, what I'm doing is I'm sinking funds for new equipment, new tech. I'm sinking funds for profit, tax, and also one thing I do sink funds for is for marketing. I invest in my business. Now, I never used to do this because I was a bootstrapper and I was someone that really I really enjoyed doing everything myself. When you get to a certain point in your business, you want to be able to push yourself all the more. And last, I think 2 years is when I started investing in marketing. Now in that marketing budget, again, I don't spend like I'm in Congress, but at least once a year, I'll have a behind the scenes content creator or photographer follow me for the day. Now, for example, this year I spent £500 on having someone with me for the entire day. That was to shoot 3 weddings. But also I do invest into marketing and pushing my business forward, whether that is hiring someone to write a good couple of killer blog posts, or whether that is investing in ads, whatever it may be, I want to be able to save money for that. Let me have a quick look to see how much every single month I put in. Okay, so 4.5% of every invoice that is paid is put aside for marketing. Now, I do have a marketing budget within this year. So for example, last year, now I'm saying these figures because I think it's so helpful, because I had no idea how much people spend on marketing. But this was my first year of running ads, for example. I spent just over 3k for ads. That worked incredibly for my business, and I'm so thankful because the amount of people that found me through these ads were so helpful. Now, a couple of years ago, just before COVID, I did the National Wedding Show. I contacted another cake maker that also did the wedding show, and I said, do you have any advice? Do you have any tips on doing it? And she said, I would rather put that money into ads. And I was like, no, it should be fine. And I'm going to be so honest, I spent an incredible amount of money that I literally saw no return on. And looking back, I'm so thankful I did it, but really I could have invested that money into ads. I will speak about marketing a little bit later on, but also I did want to just share, I do invest into my business, and it's not kind of done by osmosis. But even if you do invest into your business, you really still need to put in an incredible amount of work to still supplement that marketing, so you're not relying so heavily on it. Google and Instagram and TikTok ads are great. However, the more of the beast that you feed, the more that you can kind of become a lot more reliant on the ads, if that makes sense. If you're relying on the ads, you need to put in way more money to continue to keep these ads running, and so that it's more effective. So, to round up, I sink the funds, I space out the bumper month, so that when I have a kind of low month in January, I know. Now, I track my finances. Of course, I have free trade, which is like QuickBooks or anything like that. But I actually have a table where I physically input what I'm spending and what I have coming in. It's just really helpful for me to just type down the numbers and just to see it. I think sometimes when I can open my accounting software, I'm like, what? Like, there's just so much happening. So I actually type them down, and I can highlight in green the bumper months, and I can highlight in red where it's a little bit low. So I know every single January it's going to be low, and there may be times where I have to dip into that emergency fund, but that's okay. So we raise it back up again, and that's not a problem. So I hope this is helpful. I think finances can be a whole whirlwind at times, but I do keep things so simple and as easy as possible, because I found that wherever there's like barriers to entry, I'm just going to disengage. I'm just not going to do it. But knowing your finances is so important. And this year, this is the first year in 9 years where I'm actually investing in having someone else do it, just because I want to be able to reach those goals that I have set for myself. I hope this is also just kind of enlightening to see how another micro bakery or another small business does their finances, keeping the operating costs, but also just an encouragement to try and save as much money as possible. I think it's a temptation at times to want to spend a lot of money in your business, but for me, I'm like, okay, I want to keep the profit. I want to be able to keep my revenue and my profit okay, rather than just eating into it with a lot of things I can't even expense. So for example, when I even pay myself, it's not a allowable expense. It's not something I can claim tax on, if that makes sense. So I want to be able to keep things so possible. That's not to say that I'm paying myself like pennies. I'm not, but I want to be able to make sure that I can save money in other areas. So, and also if you don't contribute to a pension, I really hope that this is helpful. I actually contribute to a SIP, so a private pension. I use Vanguard because I know there's probably going to be questions about that. I use the software called Vanguard. I actually before used to use Penfold, because I actually kind of have other things with Vanguard, other investments in Vanguard. I found it really helpful to kind of just keep everything all in one space, instead of it being just like all over the place, if that makes sense. So one thing I should say is that looking at your finances regularly has been really helpful for me. Now, I don't do this every day, but looking at it, I think at least once a month has been really helpful for me to kind of see, okay, a snapshot of how the business is doing. There's times when, ashamedly, I'm spending a lot of money and I don't even notice it, but I'm spending a lot of the money on the cost of goods. So these are ingredients that I actually have to do and have to make my wedding cakes with. So I'd love to know if you guys have any other questions. This is like a really quick shot, if only if it was this quick, honestly, if only it was this quick. But I hope that you enjoy this video, and I shall see you on the next one.